excited to have him come speak because he is the future director for 20 through 22 this year moving forward for zones 33, 34. And it's going to be his vision and his lead and how we move forward as a zone and how we work as districts across those zones to make sure Rotary is alive and well. A little bit of background on Peter. He's a Wahoo, so that's a great thing. He graduated University of Virginia Law School, and he's originally from New Zealand. After graduating from UVA, he moved back to New Zealand and worked in private practice, and then had the opportunity in '92 to come back stateside and work for the World Bank, where he retired in 2009 from that amazing organization. He's been in Rotary since 1976, and he's held all kinds of capacities. He's played a large role in the Rotary Peace Centers committees, as well as an assembly trainer, COL delegate, and RI president's rep, which was really great, and WashRag board member. He currently serves as the Dean of Rotary Representative Network, and of course he will be our RI director for the 2022 years. He and his wife, they live off the West River here in Maryland, so he's in Rotarian in our sister and neighboring 7620 district, and most of you all know him, but those of you who do not, he's been a great leader of Rotary for many years, and we're glad to have him aboard as director, and very glad to have him here today with us. So without further ado, Director Peter Kyle.
Great. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for that very warm and generous introduction. Lovely to be with you. I see so many familiar faces on the screen. Many of you I've worked with for many years. Special thanks to Rich Story, of course, for orchestrating this event and giving me some much needed training yesterday afternoon. There are many things I can do in Rotary, but IT is not one of my strengths. I belong to a group that meets every Friday for lunch, a men's group. We stopped meeting in person, and I volunteered to arrange a Zoom meeting for this group. So I got some training. We were aired on Channel 4 last week, and I sent the showing to my son, and he wrote back saying, "I can't believe you were quoted as being an expert on Zoom. You've never had any experience whatsoever in IT." So mastered Zoom because I'm spending most of my life on Zoom. This is my 4th Zoom call today, but it's great. I've been asked to talk about sort of vision and long-term plans. Before I do that, I want to just give you a sense of the feeling of the RI Board of Directors. We met online 2 weeks ago. Normally, of course, we would meet in person in Evanston, but we met online. We met every day from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And of course, quite a few of the directors are non-English speaking, so we had interpretation and we had a lot of staff. And there are many things that came out of the board meeting, but the one thing that I wanted to share with you is the sense of excitement and enthusiasm about the opportunities which current state of affairs has provided. We could never have imagined 3 months ago that Rotary would almost overnight convert from an in-person, live meeting organization to an organization that meets primarily online. The transition has been incredibly smooth. We are doing surveys to find out how many clubs are in fact connection problems, and some for whom the members may not be so comfortable. But almost overnight, we become an online organization. And that is going to affect how we operate moving forward. Holger Naak is our incoming president. He starts on the 1st of July, and he has proposed various goals, which I will share with you in a moment. Of course, the overriding external goal is continues to be polio. I don't know whether Chuck Davidson is on the line. He was on a call with us a few days ago. We've had to pause the inoculation phase of polio because of the social distancing protocols. But fundraising and surveillance and laboratory work and all the other aspects of the global polio eradication initiative full steam ahead. There's no resiling from that. And I might just say, there was a question at another session recently, whether the US government's new stance on WHO might affect polio. And the answer is, we don't think so. The polio fund is separate from WHO's administrative budget. So even if there is a cut in the US contribution, we don't think there'll be any cut in polio. And we've had some informal indications from senior US leadership that that will be the case. The US continues to be the #1 contributor to the polio eradication initiative, and the funds are flowed through WHO. I learned recently, I didn't know this, but Rotary is the 8th largest contributor to WHO, which is really quite an astounding fact. So polio is alive and well and will continue. The infrastructure is being used around this epidemic a few years ago, an H1N1. So I think that's a great contribution to the public health policies of the world, not just the polio eradication initiative, but the infrastructure that Rotary has put in place all around the world to deal with epidemics such as this and virus infections generally. And of course, the internal priority is membership, 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 and we're doing a lot of activity in that area as well. As far as the goals that, forgive me, I'll have to get rid of this. My apologies. Feel free to find me, Jonathan, whatever you, I can't stop the external calls.
It's good. It's okay, Peter. It's probably a warranty call for your car.
Normally Margaret would take the calls, but she's outside in the garden, so, oh my goodness. Anyone have any advice?
Yeah, in the old days, you just left it off the hook.
All right, I apologize. And I want to read them to you because they're quite important. I think that will affect the way the clubs operate. So the first goal, he's asking the districts actively work at creating new innovative club models and to help expand the reach of models by creating satellite clubs and by forming community-based. Holger Naak's background is very much in youth activities. He's a strong proponent of RILA, Youth Exchange, Rotaract, Interact. So I think throughout his year, there'll be a major focus on youth. He is proposing to have 3 Rotaract conferences. He invited Rotaract clubs all around the world to submit proposals. And the Rotaract club based in Richmond, Virginia, was successful. The club is led by Alexandria Ritchie. Some of you may know her. She's a Rotaractor and a Rotarian. She works in public health field in Richmond. She is an outstanding young lady. She was our guest presenter at the Zoom zones 33 and 34 calls that we have every Friday and every Monday. Last weekend, she gave an excellent presentation. And she will be convening a zone-wide Rotaract conference probably in Charlottesville, somewhere in Zone 33 in May of next year. So watch out for that. That's going to be a very impressive event. And the fact that she was successful out of all the Rotary clubs in the world really speaks volumes for the caliber and the quality of the people behind that proposal. The second strategic objective, and let me just say that everything in Rotary these days is being viewed through the prism of Rotary's strategic plan, the action plan. There are 4 priorities. I'm sure you know what they are: to expand our reach, engage, adapt. So we're looking to clubs and districts to identify projects and programs and activities which will help advance the priorities of the strategic plan. So the second goal, every club should host at least one strategic meeting each year at which you ask, what should our club be like in 5 years, and what steps should we take to help achieve that vision? What value do we bring our members? So that's something that all clubs will be asked to, and I'm sure Jonathan got that message when he was at the International Assembly in San Diego earlier in the year. It was last year. It was Harry. Harry's the DG, I think. He would have got that message, and he'll convey that message to you. A major focus on strategic planning, particularly now in light of the way that we now operate. The third priority, greater focus on how we select members. Make sure that they are a good fit with your club and that your club meets their expectations. There is no wrong age to become a Rotarian. So a focus not just on recruiting new members, but recruiting good members, members that will stay with Rotary for the long haul and aren't just in for a few months and out again. And then lastly, to continue the club's efforts to end polio by donating to the End Polio Now and by hosting a World Polio Day event in October. I was on a call earlier today. We will be having a major Rotary Day at the European Union in October to focus on polio. The countries that are members of the European Union have been strong supporters, and this is a chance to recognize the contributions which the European nations have made to polio and to promote the relationship between Rotary and the European Union. So that's something to look forward to. As far as my own priorities and vision are concerned, I'm working very closely with David Stovall, who is the Senior Director in our 2 zones, and Steph Yurchik, who is the Junior Director. We have this somewhat unusual situation of having 2 directors next year from Zone 33, Stephanie and myself. I couldn't wish for a better co-director. Stephanie is just such a pleasure to work with. And all 3 of us have agreed to continue the initiative that David Stovall started with Rise Against Hunger. His goal during his term was to generate 10 million meals through the Rise Against Hunger campaign. He more than achieved that. Stephanie will be continuing it, and I will be continuing it. Of course, we had a major Rise Against Hunger event during the course of the Institute in Norfolk, Virginia in 2018, another one in Atlanta last year. We were hoping to have another one in Pittsburgh at the Institute in November. Sadly, we've had to cancel the in-person for that in the very near future. I don't know that that is necessarily public knowledge, so please keep that, be discreet about what you say, but there will be an online event in November with around the theme of Pittsburgh, the City of Champions. The other area that I'm personally very focused on is community engagement in a peace building sense. As you would have heard from my introduction, I've long been involved in the Peace Centers program. I'm very conscious that North America in particular has become a very divided, and I think Rotary and Rotarians have a role to play in trying to bring about mediation, peace building initiatives of all sorts. So I've initiated a number of different groups that I'll be working with over the next 2 years. The objective being to promote greater community involvement, greater community harmony, linking up Rotary clubs. Just to give an example, in the Frederick area, in Frederick, Maryland, which is a very Rotary-centric part of the district, the 5 Rotary clubs meet every quarter to mainly for social purposes, but to compare notes and to engage in joint projects. The 4 Rotary clubs in Annapolis are doing the same. The 5 Rotary clubs in DC are doing the same. Many clubs on the Red Line in Washington, DC. And I want to encourage that sort of collaboration. The clubs in Richmond, the clubs in Charlottesville, the clubs in other parts of your district, hopefully will start meeting on a regular basis. The focus in Rotary is always going to be on local communities, but I think Rotarians can benefit from meeting Rotarians and other clubs nearby, and through engaging in more regional and national and international projects. I'm working closely with a group of Peace Fellows led by Patricia Schaefer, who was well known to you. She spoke at the Norfolk, Virginia Institute 2 years ago. She's based in Charlotte. And she's developing new gen peace builders. We have an active group in Charlottesville at the University of Virginia. I'm working with Outward Bound. My other love in life is Outward Bound. I was the international chairman for Outward Bound. And I'm bringing Outward Bound and Rotary together in developing specific hands-on community-based activities, which I hope to roll out over the next 12 or 18 months. Rotary has a long community involvement. We have a very well-respected brand. I think we have a lot to contribute, both as a club and as individuals. And I want to see much greater involvement with law enforcement, with the faith community, with the education, school superintendents, with civic leaders of all sorts. And I think that if we can expand our reach and get greater involvement in the community, it's a win-win situation. We contribute our talents, our expertise, our resources, and we benefit the communities in which we serve. So I'm excited about that initiative. We're still developing the ideas behind it, but I hope that I can roll it out, as I say, in the next 6 to 9 months. I'm happy to continue talking, but I'm also keen to answer any questions. This is a chance for you to Rotary. So, Jonathan, if you like, I can stop now and have a break and invite people to comment or question, or I continue into other areas, whatever you think is most appropriate.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. We can definitely take some questions now and we can keep talking. One thing I will highlight is I was on that call with Alex Ritchie and so impressed by her that I reached out to her afterward, and she will be coming to speak to this group at our Lunch and Learn the first weekend of June. And, we spent some time talking about our Rotaract days because I was a Rotaractor myself. And so she invited me down to the next May. So I look for, that's impressive, to be one of 3 selected. It's really impressive. And she's a really impressive young woman. So glad to learn from her. Any questions of Peter at this moment?
While you're thinking of questions, let me just say a few things about Rotary membership and finances. There's a concern that the pandemic is going to cause Rotary to lose members. So we've done a lot of statistical modelling on that topic. We have a PhD statistician on staff, and they've done, this person has done a lot of analysis on Rotary's membership trends since 1905. And the graph shows a continuous growth in Rotary until around 25 years ago, when, as you know, we plateaued around 1.2 million members. We broke at the end of the First World War, at the Depression, the Second World War, 9/11, other major events. And what we discovered was that for a few months after each of those cataclysmic events, there was a dip for a few months in membership, but then the growth continued. As I say, it continued up until the 1990s when it plateaued. So on the basis of that and other factors that they've taken into account, there is a belief in Rotary that membership may be affected, but not significantly. Even when we had 9/11, there was no significant fall off in membership. So the models that we have done are assuming different scenarios, a slight dip and a slight increase. This is important because the dues are what funds the organization. So if there's a significant drop off in dues, then we have to reduce staff and reduce services, and we don't want to do that. So in summary, as far as membership is concerned, we don't really think there will be a significant impact as a result of the pandemic. As far as finances are concerned, Rotary's in a very strong position. We were predicting a budget surplus of $3 million this year. Because all Rotary travel has been terminated, there's likely to be a surplus in the order of $6 million. And we have identified additional cuts that could be made if we had to, if there's a real downfall in membership. We don't think that's going to be necessary. But the point is that Rotary's in a very strong financial position. We have very conservative investment portfolio. As far as fundraising is concerned, there are more peaks and troughs, as you might expect. Some years are better than others. But again, the trend is upwards, and we have no reason to believe that that will not continue. We've just received a very large gift from USAID, $5 million to finance COVID-19 initiatives in Italy. This is a rather special grant directed towards helping out Italy for various reasons. So that's going to be quite significant. We had a telethon last Saturday, which raised, I believe, about $1 million. And we've made a lot of money available for COVID-19 initiatives. In fact, I think the $3 million that was allocated has already been used up. So there's a lot of positive things happening around the Rotary world, a lot of creativity. Rotarians are continuing to meet regularly. Projects are still going ahead. What is interesting is that as an incoming director, one of the responsibilities is to visit all 31 districts in the two zones. Our extend from Erie, Pennsylvania in the north, down through the center of Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area, all the way down south, all of the Caribbean except the Dominican Republic, and 3 countries in South America. So that's quite a long territory, and it's physically difficult for the director to attend, to go to all 31 districts. But now, as a result of technology, I can meet all 31 districts in a week. It's theoretically possible that I could meet all 70,000 Rotarians in the 2 zones in the next few weeks. Last week, I presented to a club in Bergen, Norway. Next week, I'll be presenting to a club in Beirut, in Lebanon. And all of the members of the board are being asked to talk to clubs in different parts of the world. In the case of global grants, quite often a global grant is initial, and they have difficulty matching with an international club. But now, as a result of the technology, the members of the club in the US can meet online with all the members of the club in Tanzania or Malaysia or Kazakhstan, wherever the project is, and get to meet each other. So the technology has opened up opportunities. Someone said, Rotary opens opportunities, and they reversed it by saying opportunities open Rotary. There are all sorts of plans in the pipeline to upgrade Rotary's governance structure, changes to the role of the director, changes to the role of the district governor, changes to the concept of district conferences. A lot of thinking has gone into this, and there'll be some proposals going to the next Council on Legislation meeting in 2022. So Rotary is very much in the forefront of upgrading its systems, its trading protocols, the way it operates. And this has given us an unbelievable opportunity. And I think that I know the directors are all excited at how effectively and quickly clubs have adapted to the new norm. Where that'll lead us, who knows? Of course, we all like to have the in-person meetings and the pre-meeting coffees and the after-meeting chats and that goes with in-person meetings. But for now, the online meeting is a pretty good substitute. We have coffee meetings, we can have do almost everything we used to do in person, we can do online. It's quite exciting that we have this opportunity. So again, I'll take a break in case there are any questions. Otherwise, Jonathan, I'll just keep rambling.
Well, we've got a couple of questions somebody typed in our chat.
Okay.
First one is, can we learn more about how the USAID donation for Italy COVID worked? So any other details about that and how that works?
I've only heard about that in the last day or so, Nancy, so I don't have any more detail than that. I'm sure Rotary will put out a press release before too long, and
Okay.
just keep an eye on the Rotary website. I mean, it just sounds an amazing.
Well, it is amazing, and our international group would love to hear about it and do something with it if we could, you know.
Right.
Okay, great. I'll look on our website, our Rotary International website. You
The
think?
Rotary.org website, that's,
Yeah.
you'll probably hear about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Got another message, and Dave, I might need you to translate, but it says, can Peter speak a bit more about RI wanting clubs to integrate the RI strategic plan, which is qualitatively different than, and I'm sorry, Dave, I don't know what the rest of that means.
That was Pat, but that's. I threw her under the bus.
It's hard typing on his computer. Anyway, Peter, what I was wondering, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. I don't think districts and clubs have maybe a sufficient appreciation of how RI has really evolved its strategic plan from being to one that is more qualitative, more future thinking about not just who you are and what you do, but understanding your environment and the kind of club you have to be in. And if you could elaborate more about RI's actual desire for clubs to move forward on that, that would be helpful.
Okay. Well, in some ways, I would direct you to Stephanie, because Stephanie has chaired a Rotary Strategic Planning Committee, and she's done a fabulous job. The committee has been meeting on a regular basis over the last 2 or 3 years. They've come up with a new theme, United We Serve Together. I should know this off by heart. I think you know what it is. And an action plan with 4 priorities, which are subdivided into a whole series of other priorities. And everything we do in Rotary is now being viewed through the prism of the Rotary Action Plan. This has been, in effect, rolled out on the 1st of July. We're promoting it now, but the formal launch, I think, is on the 1st of July. And clubs and districts will be strongly encouraged to read and digest the action plan and come up with specific proposals area to implement. So we're looking at increasing the impact of Rotary, increasing our ability to adapt. Some of these things we've been doing for some time. At the Council on Legislation meeting in 2016, the Council relaxed all sorts of meeting requirements. So we've adapted there. We're adapting with Rotary, bringing Rotary in as a full partner. And that process is going to be continuing over the next couple of years. So there are a lot of things that Rotary is doing to adapt. We're reaching out. Just one small example, I serve as the Dean of the Rotary Representative Network, which is the body that oversees Rotary's relationships with the United Nations and other international organizations. And the board has recently decided to ramp up the activities of the network and explore opportunities for collaborating between UNESCO and UNICEF and UN Environment with Rotary clubs and Rotary districts. We had a very good example of that 2 years ago in Nairobi. I was in Nairobi for the Rotary Day at the UN. The United Nations headquarters in Africa is based in Nairobi, Kenya. And the UN Environment, which is the environmental arm of the United Nations, is headquartered in Nairobi. While I was there, I had the chance to meet with a small group from UN Environment. 5 young people came into the room. It turned out that the team leader was a Rotary Peace Fellow, which we did not know. And he was from New Zealand. Doesn't get much better than the former Rotary ambassador or scholar. The third person was the elevator speech ready, but we didn't need it. They knew as much about Rotary as really we did. And they came in with a list of 25 projects which they thought would be of interest to clubs and districts. That led to a meeting between President Barry Rassin and the Executive Director of the UN Environment. That in turn led to a meeting between John Hugo, the Chief Executive of Rotary, and the staff of UN Environment. And that led to the development of a toolkit between Rotary, ESRAG, the Environmental Sustainable Rotary Action Group, and UN Environment on how to identify environmental projects, how to implement them, how to evaluate them. You can download this from the Rotary website. It's a very professional publication. It's about 30 pages. And it's a very concrete example of how Rotary is collaborating with an international organization. We hope to do the same thing with UNICEF, with UNESCO, with UNHCR. We've just appointed another Rotarian ambassador in Geneva to be our representative with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. There's a big focus on refugees generally within Rotary. So a lot of exciting things happening in that area. I'm probably straying from the strict question, Pat, but hopefully somewhere in the middle of that there was an answer.
Thank you. Any other questions for Peter at the moment? Go ahead, Jim. You're on mute.
I'm undoing. Peter, I'm going to be the youth chair next year for District 7610. And I'm very fortunate that some of the people on this conference are going to be helping me. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to merge membership with existing leverage we have with our youth activities over the years into membership. So I think there's just like we merged public image with membership, now we're going to go to the second phase and leverage youth opportunities with membership. Parents, schools, it's a natural tie-in.
This is great news, Bob, and may I take this opportunity to congratulate 7610. You guys have been at the forefront of peace building initiatives. I think it started with Juanita when she was the district governor some years ago. You had a youth, you had a peace officer, you've had various peace conferences. I've attended several of them. Kudos to all of you guys for promoting peace. And as I said before, that's the area that I have been passionate about over the last 10 years. I'm keen to see it develop further. I think Rotary has so much to contribute by virtue of our expertise, our vocational experience, and as just citizen ambassadors. So what you're doing, I think, is exactly on track, and any support that I can give, I'd be very happy to provide. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. We do have a comment in the chat box from Area Governor Bob Kahani, and I agree with him. He's mentioning that he saw a Rotary TV ad a few days ago after the news, and that he just liked the idea of Rotary promoting itself a little bit. And we know that's a newer thing for Rotary to do, is kind of those TV spots and more commercialized. But I'm with Bob. I kind of think it's a good thing to get our name out there to the general public. Do you have any thoughts, Peter, on those initiatives?
So we've been moving more and more in that direction. For many years, Rotary was kind of an internal organization. We are Rotary, we can do everything ourselves. And it took Rotary a long time to realize that by partnering with other organizations, we can increase our impact. 1 + 1 to make 3 or 4 or 5. So I'd say since John Hugo came on board, there's been a much greater willingness to reach out, to link up with Toastmasters and other potential partners. And as part of that, to promote Rotary as an organization that's worthy of support and recruit new members. In the communication area, we are now right up there. The quality of the graphics, the design, the training materials. There's a large number of people in Evanston who focus on this, and I think most would agree that the trainings and the publications that we now get are a really very high standard. I didn't see the TV ad. I don't know what that was about. But I think that as part of Rotary's Reaching Out campaign, we are being encouraged to link up with local media, print media, radio, TV, all sorts of media, get the word out and increase our impact, engage new members. I think it's exciting, the opportunities that the technology permits are just changing so rapidly, and Rotary is, I think, we've got some way to go, but I think Rotary is pretty much the forefront of the communication revolution that we're seeing all around the world.
Thank you. Any other questions for Peter or Kyle before we end things today?
Yes, Peter, back at our 100th anniversary celebration, we seem to be on the verge of eliminating polio. But lately, what I'm hearing is we seem to be drifting further away from that goal. What's the current situation?
Well, it's pity that Chuck Davidson's not on the line because he's the 7610 guru. We had a bad year last year for a number of reasons. There was a change of government in Pakistan, and Imran Khan became the president, and a whole new cadre of bureaucrats came on board. And the old cadre that had been so involved with polio were basically cast aside. So we lost a lot of mileage, we lost a lot of internal expertise. And there was also a very unfortunate video put out by a group that took the view that vaccinations were harmful. It showed terrible pictures of children being vaccinated and then collapsing. So earlier this year, President-elect Holger, Mike McGovern, who's Mr. Polio in the Rotary world, and Ravi Ravindra, the past president, all went to Pakistan and had a meeting with the president of Pakistan and the Army Chief of Staff. And we've received pretty good assurances that Pakistan is aware that it has fallen behind. It's aware that we lost a year, and it is really working hard to regain its position. Of course, they are very much aware that India was declared polio-free 3 years ago, and the Pakistanis don't like to feel that they're in some way falling behind India. So I think that the numbers so far this year in Pakistan more surveillance has increased. We now have the COVID-19 situation, which is going to put a pause on vaccinations, and that may set us back. But in terms of the infrastructure in Pakistan, I think things are back on track. In the case of Afghanistan, there have been all sorts of internal squabbles with the government and problems with the Taliban. But again, we are hopeful that we can get that situation under control. I think that's about as much as I can say. If Chuck was here, he would give you a much better response. But I think that's as much as I know.
Thank you. Anything else from the audience at this point? Okay. Well, we really thank Director Peter Kyle for coming on today and giving us some insight on what's going to happen over the next year and what we're doing now. So big round of applause, Peter. And we look forward to your leadership. And folks, look forward to seeing you back next week. You'll get an email of the next speaker. And I don't have it pulled up and I can't remember. So I apologize, but we'll get that out to you for next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Everybody have a wonderful
Thank you very much, Jonathan. And thank you all. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Peter.
Anytime. I started my Rotary journey in District 7610, so it's always a pleasure to meet you guys.
Thank you, Peter.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
I said,
All the heavies.
Watch it.
Yes, all the
See you soon. Say goodbye to Margaret for me.
I will. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.